Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm Roberta Hayes, a member of the Westmont women's basketball team, and I'm just so happy to be up here this morning and introduce an incredible person. Kirsten Moore enters her 13th year as head coach of the women's basketball program here at Westmont. During this time, Coach Moore has built an elite program that consistently competes at a national level. Although I could impress all of you with a long list of Coach Moore's career achievements, I want to take this opportunity to share with you just a few things about her that you won't find on a stat sheet. Kirsten Moore is the type of person who drops whatever she has going on in her day for just an important conversation or to share a laugh. She's the type of person who used to wash the entire team's sweaty jerseys just so she knew they were done right. She's the type of person who has experienced many challenges, yet has always found a way to work through them. And you're the type of person that has showed me that the little things make the big things happen. I'd like to take a moment to personally thank you for who you are and all that you do. Please help me welcome Coach Kirsten Moore.
Thank you. All right. Well, these lights are always so bright when I get up here. It's always a little bit of a shocker, but hello, Warriors. I'm super pumped to be with you today. Especially and particularly speaking to you college students. I know there's a lot of other people here too, and I hope you'll pick up some nuggets, but really my message, I hope college students, you have ears to hear today. I mean, you all are living the dream right now, college students. You know that, right? I mean, you're in the midst of the best 4 years of your life. The hype has the bar set super high, doesn't it? I mean, you've heard this before, right? That college is supposed to be the best 4 years of your life. And I don't necessarily disagree about the magnitude of this time of your life, but I think that it's a sentiment that's usually interpreted as college is supposed to be the most fun, most carefree, exciting, adventurous time of my life, free of my parents' rules, curfews, all that stuff, and yet still having a safety net where you don't really have to worry about housing or food or friends or any of that stuff before you head out into the real world and have to figure all that stuff out for yourself. But the reality is that for most college students, it isn't the way that you thought it would be. Stressors abound, and the statistics today show that stress, anxiety, and depression are afflicting college students at an increasing and alarming rate. The reality is that college is hard. Westmont is hard. And college was hard for me. Really, really hard. The best 4 years of my life? Well, I guess that depends on what you deem best. For me, even though it wasn't the way I pictured that it was supposed to be, when I look back, I can say that it was the most influential, shaping, and important 4 years of my life. It's when I established the principles and skills that I was going to live my adult life on, apart from my family, my parents, who have been kind of there for you guys up until this point. And that's why I felt compelled to speak specifically to you students today, right where you're at. You know, there's a lot of things I learned in college, a lot of things in the classroom, a lot of things outside the classroom. As I was getting ready for this, I brainstormed a list of, and it was actually super fun to see, like how many things I feel like I learned in college. But in the short time I have with you today, I'm really gonna just focus on some things I learned that are integral parts of the foundation of my day-to-day life still today, over 20 years later. And yes, that means I'm really old. But my hope is that by hearing what my biggest building blocks were from college, it might help you have eyes to see the real work that is happening in you during your time here at Westmont. So I boiled down the long list to share my big 3 with you today. Number 1 is that I learned that a life that revolved around me was ultimately going to be unfulfilling. I went to college looking to fulfill my dream. When I was in middle school, an Olympian I heard speak about what it was like to play basketball at Stanford, and a dream for me was born to play basketball in the Pac-10. Yes, it was Pac-10 now, it's the Pac-12 for those of you that are wondering what conference is that, the one with Cal, Stanford, UCLA, USC, that one. That was like my goal. But no one recruited this skinny, slow, blonde girl that couldn't jump. And so through a series of connections and a lot of hard work from me, I finally got the break that I was looking for. I was given a chance to walk on at the University of Oregon. I was going to be a Duck, and I was going to prove that I could play at the highest level. And of course, if I double majored in 2 of the most respected majors and became a starter and won a Pac-10 championship, then I would be happy, right? The first chink in that worldview came in January of my freshman year, when after our football team made an unexpected run to a Pac-10 championship, our Rose Bowl MVP quarterback spoke in the amphitheater on campus about achieving his ultimate dream, and that he woke up the next morning not necessarily unhappy. I mean, what they'd accomplished was just pretty amazing, but realizing that he wasn't going to be fulfilled even accomplishing what we are led to believe should be the pinnacle that life has to offer. This Ravi Zacharias quote struck a chord. The loneliest moment in life is when you have just experienced that which you thought would deliver the ultimate, and it has let you down. It really got me thinking about things that would have value beyond an A in a class or a championship ring. The answer came through a trial that I would not have chosen. My junior year, when I was in position to have a breakout season personally on the court, I had started some as a sophomore, and this was going to be like my year. Well, I ended up in the hospital needing an emergency appendectomy right as our season was beginning. When I was finally healed enough to play a couple months later, the rotation was already set, and I didn't get any playing time at all. Well, I did play when we were up 30 points on the worst team in the league, and there was only 30 seconds left in the game, and all we had to do was go in and just like dribble till the clock ran out. That's when I played. Other than that, I didn't play. And it was a super hard season filled with a lot of tears, lots of soul searching, a lot of investment in things that didn't show up on a stat sheet. But what I didn't know is that while something totally outside my control had taken away my personal dream, I would learn something much more important, something that would end up changing the course of my career and my day-to-day life up until the present, including my choice to pursue a career in coaching. And that was the fact that being a part of something bigger than myself was actually more fulfilling than any personal accomplishments I could achieve. I realized that helping my teammates succeed actually brought me great joy, and that the counterculture humility that Christ modeled actually draws people to the love of God that has the ultimate lasting fulfillment. So I learned not to stop dreaming, in fact, that I needed to dream bigger, to widen my lens and to make sure that I dreamt bigger than myself, my job, my money, my adventure, my accolades, because I would be missing out on being a part of the big story that goes beyond myself and would fulfill me more than any individual success ever could. Secondly, I learned that God is real, that his love for me is relentless, and that I can trust in him and his promises as a foundation for my life. Some of you here today came to Westmont having gone to church your whole life. There's others of you that came into Westmont and you'd never stepped foot in a church before. And you might be here in your 9th chapel ever going, what in the world is going on here and what is this all about? But regardless of whether you're on one end of that spectrum or the other or somewhere in between, you all really have the same questions to ponder as you embark on your own faith journey apart from your parents and your family. What do you believe for yourself? Do you believe in God? If so, who is this Jesus guy? And what about all those other religions? And whatever you believe, do you have a reason for the faith that you believe? I wasn't at a faith-based school where I was challenged to think about these things on a regular basis, but when I got to college, something inside me just compelled me to want to know what was true. What is this God thing all about? And I wanted to find truth, and I wanted facts to lead the way. So I went to the library at the University of Oregon, and I checked out books on like all different religions. And in between stuff I had to do for my class and stuff, I was just intrigued. I wanted to like find out what this whole thing was about. And I was particularly challenged by a book by Josh McDowell called Evidence That Demands a Verdict. The book was so long, it's now published in like 2 volumes. So needless to say, it had a lot of information in it, but I came face to face with substantial and compelling evidence that Jesus Christ really did resurrect from the dead. This, quite honestly, blew my science-based mind away and kind of freaked me out a little bit. But from the compelling evidence that I found, small seeds of faith began. And through my college years, I developed a foundational belief that the God of the Bible was indeed real, that he loved me relentlessly, and that his promises in Scripture were actually reliable. I know it's a lot to imagine wrapping your head around all of that in kind of a 4-year stretch of time, but the foundation that started in college when I was your age, and then that I built upon over subsequent years after, held me firm when I couldn't hold myself up. 6 years ago, I was 8 months pregnant and excited about starting a family and all that would hold for the future. Then at 4 a.m. on May 9th, 2012, I got a phone call. You know that phone call you hear about people getting, but wouldn't really ever happen to you? Yeah, that one. The one that informed me that my husband had suddenly and unexpectedly died of a pulmonary embolism. The darkness descended before I could even hear the end of the message. I screamed to my friend and I staggered over and I handed her the phone, and then I just collapsed on this air mattress that was on the floor, and I just start beating my fist into the mattress. Like, there's no way, like it can't be real, But it was. He was gone. It was the longest day of my life. The seconds ticked by so slowly that I wondered how I was going to make it through a single hour, let alone day, month, year, or lifetime. My friends and family all rushed to LA to be with me, and many of my fellow coaches and kinesiology faculty were there within hours and sat with me as the seconds slowly ticked. Somehow evening finally came, and before the caravan back to Westmont started, my friends, they asked if they could pray with me, and we all gathered to pray. To be honest, I really have no idea what everybody was praying, but while my friends were praying, God spoke to my heart, and just over and over in my head and in my heart, he was there and saying the same thing. And my friends finished praying, and I looked up and I said, I don't know why God let this happen, but this I do know. God was good yesterday, and God is still good today. And I believe that to my very core. It's like a person building a house who digs deep and lays the foundation on solid rock. When the floodwaters rise and break against that house, it stands firm because it's well built. Which leads me to my third thing. I learned that I can do hard. I was working on a double major in pre-med and business. Yes, you heard that right. There's not a lot of classes that overlap. That makes for a pretty tough double major, pre-med and business. I was an athlete on the basketball team that demanded excellence on a daily basis, and also a part of a team that proved that running until people were puking in the trash cans was not just in the movies, it actually happened in real life. I had my first adult experience with grief as my grandfather, who I was super close with, passed away. I had my first boyfriend that ultimately ended with me trying to make my way out of an unhealthy, emotionally codependent relationship. My junior year, I had that surgery that I talked about that shattered my personal dream, and those were just some of the big things. Of course, there were the daily tests, papers, reading, practices, weight training, conditioning, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The endless pile of to-dos and responsibilities was always there, piling up on top of me. You can relate, right? I know it's only the third week of school, so maybe you're not there yet this semester, but the time is inevitably coming when you'll be feeling overwhelmed. Well, for years, the desire to be perfect, to get straight A's, to be the best at everything, had me feeling like I was on a hamster wheel, running towards something I could never quite reach. But in college, I learned how to carry the load without getting crushed, and even miraculously at times, how to experience freedom in the midst of the hard. The first step for me was admitting to myself and coming to grips with the fact that perfection was impossible. This was a tough one for me because, you guys, when I was in the 4th grade, some classmates gave me a nickname. The nickname was Limp. It stood for Little Miss Perfect. But in college, I learned that my identity didn't have to depend on being the best at everything in order to be valuable and worthy. Realizing that through Christ's sacrifice, God saw me as perfect, gave me the freedom to strive for excellence without the pressure of losing my identity. My perfectionist tendencies make this a struggle still today, but the ramifications of a secure identity in Christ are radical, and they're worth fighting for. Okay, so I had to let go of perfection and strive for the right kind of success. But what's the right kind of success? The best definition I've seen is from a role model of mine, John Wooden, who I also had the gift of learning from in person. And he defines success like this. Success is peace of mind, which is a direct result of self-satisfaction in knowing you did your best to become the best you're capable of becoming. I'm going to say that one more time. Success is peace of mind, which is a direct result of self-satisfaction in knowing you did your best to become the best that you're capable of becoming. Westmont students, hear this. You are never going to be perfect. When perfection is your goal, stress and anxiety are inevitable. However, did you notice the byproduct of defining success as becoming the best that you are capable of becoming? Yeah, it's the part I put in italics up there. Peace of mind. Becoming your best isn't easy. In fact, it's extremely hard work, but it is possible. There's freedom in it, and it produces peace of mind. So I had to redefine success. Then I learned to embrace the concept that Roberta talked about when she introduced me, and that's that the little things make the big things happen. My assistant coach said this all the time in college, but at some point I realized how much energy I was expending being stressed. Stressing out is exhausting. It paralyzed me from actually making any progress, and it left me more stressed out. Jesus said, "Who of you by worrying can add a single hour to your life?" So instead of sitting there thinking about the overwhelming amount of things I had to do, I would break it down into manageable chunks, figure out which were the most urgent things to do, and then get to work. Sometimes those chunks were by the day. This is what I've got to get done today, and I'm gonna do this, and it's gonna get some of that pile, I'm gonna get a little bit out from under. Sometimes that was even too overwhelming, and I'd just say, okay, I have an hour before practice. What can I get done in that hour? And I would just work my hardest to get that done in that hour. But you guys, sometimes here at Westmont or sometimes in your life afterwards, even an hour seems overwhelming. And so I would have to just ask myself, okay, what can I do right now to just take the next step? Just take the next step. When I was able to let go of the need to be perfect and instead just focus on being my best in each of the little things, I realized that if I strung together enough little things, that things that seemed impossible could actually be accomplished. The little things make the big things happen. This is how our team rallied after my husband's death to miraculously win Westmont's first ever national championship in women's basketball. It's also how I made it through this very week. That included, get ready, I have a long list. It included finding 10 more community mentors for our Women's Mentorship Roundtable. Ladies, keep your eyes out for an invitation on paperless post for me October 2nd. It also included driving over to Santa Ynez to get details figured out for my team's retreat next weekend, attending a luncheon to raise awareness for mental health support for students in Santa Barbara, doing weight and conditioning sessions with my team, helping run an all-athlete rally for our student athletes, having a department coaches discussion about technology and its ramifications on our students, cut and washed fresh fruits and vegetables every morning for my daughter's lunch, took her to school, gymnastics tryout, soccer practice, made her dinner every night, and made sure she practiced her reading every night too, then read her the Bible, prayed with her, and I'm running out of breath. Went to home group, met an alumni who was interested in donating money to support our athletics programs, not to mention an extremely stressful day this week when we were trying to locate a missing family member whose life was in serious danger. And preparing for this talk, I could go on, but even with all I did get done, you guys, my house is a mess right now. The laundry things are overflowing, and I think my daughter has 5 pairs of shoes like spread out, who knows, all over the house. And Little Miss Perfect is okay with that, because I know that I did my absolute best this week. And my point is this: I know you college students have a lot on your plate, but learning how to manage the stressors now will help you handle the inevitable array of stressors that will come your way for the rest of your life. For me, the discipline of breaking down the overwhelming pile to a series of little things has made some big things happen and kept me healthy enough to keep going. The other way that I learned, oh, I'm behind on my slides. No, I'm ahead on my slides. Holy smokes. Okay. The other way that I learned to attack the hard was acquiring and tapping into the new power in me that was bigger than any hard thing that I could face. My favorite verse in college was 2 Corinthians 4, verse 7. I would even sign it under my name when I signed autographs. And it says, "We have this treasure in jars of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us." My senior year, I was asked to share the story of my coming to faith at a local church. And I talked then about the fact that I saw something different in Christians that I was getting to know through the sports ministry of Athletes in Action. And from an outsider's perspective, I described it by saying that I saw in them an ability to live above their circumstances that was different, and I wanted that. When I then put my faith in Christ, I realized that the power of the Holy Spirit inside of me is all-surpassing power. And I've since learned that what I perceived as an ability for Christians to live above their circumstances was actually the power to have victory through their circumstances. When it comes to hard, I've learned that sometimes you can't go over or under or around it. Sometimes the only way is through. That's why Psalm 23 says, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. In college, I gained confidence that I could make it through, that I could do hard. And since then, that confidence has helped me believe that I can and will make it through whatever life has thrown my way. Of the 4 freshmen in my incoming class on the team, I was the only one to make it 4 years. I'm super grateful that I chose to stick with it, even though it was really, really hard. Because as I look at my big 3, I realize that they have shaped my entire life and given me tools to be living a fulfilling life, despite the fact that being a widowed, single mom wasn't exactly the way that I pictured it when I played that game MASH as a kid. And I want to encourage all of you students by telling you that I absolutely hope for you that your time at Westmont will indeed be the best 4 years of your life. But remember, best doesn't just mean easy and fun. It does mean that you have the opportunity here to build a strong foundation, a foundation that won't be shaken no matter what comes your way, and to gain confidence that because you learn to do hard at Westmont, that you can do hard in life too. In the midst of your busyness of classes and extracurricular activities as a college student, I don't want you to miss the good stuff. You're establishing a foundation as a person, living on your own for the first time. Well, that will be the foundation for your adult life. I am going to quickly just give you a couple ideas to help you get started building wisely. Strive for excellence and your absolute best, not perfection. Find good friends. And what I mean by that is friends that will encourage you when you're struggling and you feel like giving up, that they won't sit there and commiserate with you and just spiral you down. Ask big questions and have conversations that matter about bigger things in life. Proactively seek out a mentor to help guide you. I had some incredible mentors through the Ministry of Athletes in Action as I was learning all that stuff that I just talked to you about. We've got this great program called Take a Professor to Lunch. Do it. And ask for help. Westmont is hard, and we all need each other. Faculty and staff are here at Westmont, have chosen to be at Westmont because they want to help you have success on this journey. Go ahead and check out what they've got going in the campus pastor's office. We also have an awesome counseling center that can help give you tools as you navigate this critical time. Look up, not at your phones. I don't have time to go into this. My team's going, oh yeah, we hear about this every day and night now. We're talking about it a lot. But you guys, the statistics and numbers of time that we spend on our phones, and I'm not just talking about you, I'm talking about me too, whether it's social media or gaming or whatever it is, the numbers are staggering. And the ramifications of how it takes away from the potential to have kinds of conversations that matter and relationships that can build you and get you to these points, and to look up to God and to pray and to do all these other things with our time. Let's get our eyes up, okay? Help others. Remember, a life revolving around you will ultimately let you down. And as an aside on this one, if you're feeling just super drained and you help someone, I just dare you in that moment to go help somebody else. It's going to give you so much back and get you going again. And to remember that the little things make the big things happen. So start with just one thing today. Well, the worship team is going to come back up, and as you guys start walking up, they're going to help us close our time. We're going to sing together the song, Our God. We sang this at my husband's memorial from the top of our lungs. It wasn't exactly your normal memorial song. In fact, our worship pastor was like, I don't think anyone's ever asked for that at like a memorial before. And then he was like, but I love it. And I wanted it because it reminded me of those promises that I learned in college that I can put my hope in now. That we have a God that is bigger and stronger, and that because He is with us and for us, nothing can stop us. Let's rise and sing.